Hey guys, it's Dan McDonald, the Life Regenerator. How you doing? I'm here with Dr. Alan Goldhammer, and he has been supervising my water fast over here at True North Health, and I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to get educated. So I really wanted to bring Dr. Goldhammer. He's impressed me with his level of intelligence and integrity, and his childlike joy in the fasting process and helping people get healthy. So let me introduce to you Dr. Alan Goldhammer. Hey doctor, how you doing?
Doing great.
You're the director here at True North?
That's true.
Okay, well I've been having a fantastic experience here, and I just wanted you to tell my friends a little bit about what you've seen over the last, how many years?
Well, let's see, I started in 1984, so I guess that's about 28 years.
And you just jumped right into the water fasting with people, or?
Well, I knew before we opened the True North Health Center that I was going to be doing medically supervised water-only fasting. After I got out of chiropractic college, I had an opportunity to train with a gentleman named Alec Burton in Australia who had a tremendous amount of experience doing medically supervised water-only fasting. And I was interested in it because, I had seen the results that happen when people do this kind of intense process, and so wanted to learn how to do it. Went over there, spent a little over a year there, and when I came back, that was our focus, was helping people go through fasting experiences safely and effectively.
So you're a chiropractor?
That's correct.
Certified.
I went to Western States Chiropractic College here in the U.S., and I attended the Pacific College of Osteopathic Medicine in Australia.
Okay, so over the last 24 years, you've supervised over 8,000 fasts here?
Yeah, at least. The last time we counted, there was about 8,000 people.
How many casualties?
Well, none. Fortunately, we have a rule here that if you walk in, you have to be able to walk out. And so far, everybody that's been able to walk in can walk out.
Do people walk out generally feeling much better than when they came in?
Most people that go through these processes, whether it's healthful living or fasting, find the net effect is highly positive.
Yes.
Now, sometimes during fasting, people aren't always feeling so good, because fasting can be a very intense process, and it can generate all kinds of symptoms. So as people go on the fast itself, as the body begins to unwind itself, it can be very, very uncomfortable.
But usually after a few days after a nice fast of, how long are the fasts generally? What's the shortest or the longest?
Fasting will range from 5 days to 40 days, depending on the individual and their needs and how they hold up to the fasting process.
Do you guys try to cap it off at about 40?
There are some times that we have to go longer than that, but typically we try not to go over 40 days if we can avoid it.
So you've seen some skinny people, but nobody's keeled over, and it takes a lot longer than that to starve to death, right?
You want to remember that fasting is a biological adaptation. This is a process that the system is designed to be able to do. If it were not for our ability to fast, our species couldn't have survived. Humans have this large bulbous neuronal net at the end of our spinal column called the brain that is our major source of glucose burning. So we have to have a lot of glucose in order to sustain the brain. And if our species didn't have the ability to find an alternative fuel, we would go into gluconeogenesis, burn up our protein, and die in a relatively short number of days. Because we can fast is in part due to the fact that our brains can convert from burning glucose to burning the byproducts of fat metabolism, or ketone bodies. And that's what allows us to use these reserves and fast for prolonged periods of time safely. Many other animals can't do that. In fact, most other animals can't do that. Even animals that we share a lot of DNA with, like, for example, chimpanzees, you can't do prolonged fasting because their brain doesn't have the ability to convert to burning ketones, and so they wouldn't be able to do long-term fasting, whereas humans do have this unique biological adaptation. So we're designed to be able to fast. Now, there are some exceptions. There are people, for example, that have certain enzyme deficiencies, like MCAD, which is medium-chain acetocoenzyme A dehydrogenase deficiency. Those individuals wouldn't hold up to fasting well because they don't have the enzymes necessary in order to break down fat and be able to use ketone bodies as a primary source of fuel. But that's 1 in 10,000 individuals that have that genetic deficiency.
So why do people get healthier when they're fasting? And also, what types of conditions have you seen reversed or at least improved?
Yeah, well, the conditions that tend to do the best, the most consistent response, are conditions that are caused or contributed in part to dietary excess. Excesses of fat and protein in general, and excesses of animal fat and protein in particular.
So everybody.
So these are conditions like cardiovascular disease, particularly high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and autoimmune diseases where the body's immune system has become confused and reacts to its own tissues. Conditions that might include things like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, systemic lupus erythematosus, ankylosing spondylitis, psoriatic arthritis, asthma, eczema, psoriasis. These kinds of conditions that are all made worse by poor dietary choices often respond the best to fasting, because fasting is an opportunity to give the body a chance to do what it does best, and that's heal itself. So what happens in a fast is the body is able to mobilize and eliminate these materials that accumulate inside the cells, inside the tissues of the body. They may be endogenous toxins or exogenous toxins. And exogenous toxins are the ones you know, things like PCB and dioxin and pesticide residues and heavy metals and stuff that we get exposed to that shouldn't be there. But we introduced it into the environment and now it builds up biologically in our cells. And endogenous toxins are things that aren't actually technically toxins, but they're materials that, when there's too much of them, can create problems. For example, too much cholesterol, or too intracellular pigments, or uric acid, or other problems that, when there's too much of it for the body to be able to efficiently process, can interfere with function. So these mechanisms of detoxification are accentuated in fasting, such that the body is able to more rapidly reduce its toxic load and improve its overall function.
So in order to simplify for my viewers, would it be fair to say that the excess fat, protein, and carbohydrates in their process nature accumulate in the organism?
Well, it's not so much just the excess fat, carbohydrate, and other micronutrients. It's actually the materials like PCBs and toxins and pesticide residues and all these materials that accumulate. And it's those materials that we believe, by reducing the total body load of those materials, may be improving health. Now, too much fat stored on the body isn't a good thing either, but it's not the fat per se that's the major issue. It's the diet that allows that fat to accumulate. For example, people eating a whole natural foods diet, a health-promoting diet from fruits and vegetables, don't tend to develop obesity. Okay? In order to develop obesity, you have to fool the brain of the individual with chemicals that are added to the food that are artificial, in the sense that they artificially stimulate dopamine secretion. So things like excess fat from oils, or excess salt, or sugar from refined carbohydrates. These materials are how the brains get fooled into accumulating the obesity that's associated with chronic degenerative disease.
Okay, cool. Well, that's some very good stuff, man.
And it's a problem, because even people trying to live healthfully, for example, let's say they're vegan, so they don't eat any animal food, doesn't necessarily mean they're eating healthy. Because many foods that are very unhealthy are vegan. You know, Coca-Cola is vegan, it doesn't make it a health food. And so we need to not only be vegan, that is, avoid the use of excess amounts of animal food, but we also have to eliminate the oil, the sugar, the salt added to the diet if we're going to actually achieve a high level of health.
Very cool. So I think we'll make another video here, and we'll go over the some of those other things, the programs you have here. But let's just sum it up by saying that, in your opinion, after 8,000 water fasts here at True North Health, it is a very safe, reasonable way to, or adjunct to, a healthy living program?
Fasting is a safe and effective means of giving the body to do what it does best, and that's heal itself rapidly if you give it a chance.
Okay, right on. That's very cool. Thank you, Dr. Allen.
Very good.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm going to highly recommend this facility. I've been to a couple different ones in the past, and they were nowhere near the caliber of this place. I'm extremely impressed with the level of the flow they've got going here, and the level of service, the intelligence of the doctors, as well as the doctors' understanding and kindness was another thing that's impressed me. So thank you very much, my friends. Subscribe to these videos on YouTube. Friend me on Facebook. I'm going to put a link down below so you can check out True North Health and what they do here. Definitely A++ from me on this experience. So thank you so much. Bye-bye.